Good morning, girls and boys. Today, I want to read this book called The Little Red Fort. This book was written by Brenda Maier and illustrated by Sonia Sanchez. It really reminds me of another book that I've read before. I'm not going to tell you what book it reminds me of. I want you to think about it. If I ask you what book it's reminding you of, you not only have to tell me what book it reminds you of, but you have to say why. Why it reminds you of that book. The Little Red Fort by Brenda Maier. Ruby's mind was always full of ideas. One day, she found some old boards. "Who wants to help me build something?" she asked her brothers. Oscar Lee pretended not to hear her. Rodrigo gave her a look that could melt popsicles. Jose almost fell off the fence. "You don't know how to build anything," they said. Ruby shrugged. "Then I'll learn." And she did. "Who wants to help me draw the plans?" Ruby asked. The boys clutched their sides and howled with laughter. "Not me," said Oscar Lee. "I don't think so," said Rodrigo. "No way," said Jose. "I'm too busy." "Fine," said Ruby. "I'll draw them myself." And she did. Satisfied with her plans, Ruby asked, "Who wants to help me gather the supplies?" "Not me," said Oscar Lee. "I don't think so," said Rodrigo. "No way," said Jose. "I'm too busy." "Fine," said Ruby. "I'll gather them myself." Is this book reminding you of anything so far? Think. We've read another book that has some of these same kind of patterns, where one character asks 3 other characters to help, and they all say, "Mm-mm." So she did it herself. When all the supplies were gathered, Ruby asked, "Who wants to help me cut the boards?" "Not me," said Oscar Lee. "I don't think so," said Rodrigo. "No way," said Jose. "I'm too busy." "Fine," said Ruby. "I'll cut them myself." And she did. When all the boards were neatly cut, Ruby sang, "Who wants to help me hammer in the nails?" "Not me," said Oscar Lee. "I don't think so," said Rodrigo. "No way," said Jose. "I'm too busy." "Fine," said Ruby. "I'll hammer them myself." Do you know what book it reminds me of now? Do you know why? Do you remember what they're building? Or at least what Ruby is building? So she did. She hammered them in herself. Soon, Ruby's creation was complete. "Who wants to play in my fort?" she called. "Me, me," said Oscar Lee. "Let's go," said Rodrigo. "I'll play," said Jose. "I'm not busy anymore." "Not so fast," Ruby said. "You didn't help me draw the plans, or gather the supplies, or cut the boards, or hammer the nails. You said I didn't know how to build, and you laughed at me. I'm going to play in the fort by myself." And she did. "We didn't want to play anyway," the boys said. But they did. So they huddled, whispered, and got straight to work. Oscar Lee made a mailbox. Rodrigo planted flowers. Jose painted the fort fire engine red. Ruby was delighted. She was very happy that they were finally helping. That evening, the boys followed a delicious aroma to a fort warming party. "Who wants to help me clean this plate?" Ruby asked. "We do," the boys said. And they did. So here it tells us that we can build a fort of your own. It's almost like a different kinds of page. That's a sofa fort. It looks like it's built out of the pillows or cushions from your couch or your sofa. Here's a kitchen chair fort. It looks like it's made out of sheets or blankets and some chairs. Here's a bunk bed fort. It looks like it's made out of your bunk bed with a big long sheet or blanket draped over it. And here's a snow fort. People that live up north in the winter could build one of those. Did you figure out which book this reminds you of? I know what book it reminds me of. What book does it remind you of? Say it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. What book? Why? It reminds me of the Little Red Hen. And the reason that it reminds me of the Little Red Hen is because Ruby is like the Little Red Hen. She keeps asking for help. Who wants to do this with me? And in the Little Red Hen, they always say, not I, not I, not I. But at the end, they all want to eat the cake or the bread, don't they? And if they want to do it, they have to help, don't they? Just like in this book. Thank you for reading The Little Red Fort with me. What was your favorite part? Why?